Welcome to the Unscripted Journey podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Schoen. Around here, we believe in living life on purpose, not by permission. Each week, we'll talk real growth, fresh starts, and bold steps to create a life that's true to you. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's take this journey together. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the Unscripted Journey. Today, I'm going to be talking about healing and surrendering after my left shoulder went out. I took granted of my left shoulder, my friends. You don't realize what you have until it's gone. And what happened was leading up to February of this year, where I had rotator cuff surgery, I had been dealing with a lot of pain and tendonitis in my shoulder. It was kind of alternating from one to the other, but it kind of stayed put on my left shoulder, and I was having a lot of pain. And after failed physical therapy, cortisone shots, whatever, anti-inflammatories, my doctor and I decided that we were going to go ahead and move forward, and I was going to have rotator cuff surgery. And I did not know how much I depended on my left shoulder until I couldn't. This was one of the hardest experiences I've had in my life. And this actual episode is inspired by a blog post on my website. And I'm going to post a link in the show notes so that you could read a little bit more. And these might, intertwine a little bit. But in reality, what this episode is all about is about slowing down and letting go and finding peace in a moment of pause in your life. As I said, I had been going through a lot of pain, and honestly, friends, I could not take the pain anymore. When the day I went in for surgery, I was in so much pain that I could barely move my arm. They brought me in, they had me chained into a gown, and the pain that I felt, I was scared, but I was relieved that I was finally, hopefully, because I hear sometimes this doesn't always work, but that I was going to find relief once I had the surgery. And losing control of my non-dominant arm, it really mirrors the loss of control in life in general. And, if you're a righty and you can't use your left hand, you're going to think that it's not going to really affect you. Or if you're a lefty and you lose, use of your right hand or your arm or your fingers or whatever, you don't think it's going to affect you, but it does. We were created in such a way that every part of our body is harmonious and one balances the other. If it wasn't like that, we wouldn't have two feet, two arms, two ears, two eyes. I will tell you, God knew what he was doing. And it turns out that I just want to say this and be transparent. No matter how long you've been with someone, my husband and I have been married for almost 19 years, but I was in such a vulnerable place after this surgery that needing help pulling up my pants or helping me out of bed or helping me shower was a humbling experience for me. There was a time after day 2, I just wanted to comb my hair. I wanted to brush it, and I wanted to put it in a ponytail, kind of get it out of my face. I could not do that. Having my husband trying to help me with that, it was very cute. He did his best, but I will tell you, those little things I took for granted, and you don't know it until you're in that situation. And in reality, the frustration of forced stillness, that was something that I had to cope with because I'm always on the go. And I had some initial resistance. I'm going to tell you. I wanted to push through. After my surgery, I had a nerve blocker, so I couldn't really feel any pain. But once the pain kicked in, I was in so much pain. But I still wanted to do things. It's just who I am. I wanted to push through. I want to ignore the pain, but it's so much pain that I had to succumb to it. And I think part of that was because I had to succumb to the healing. The pain is part of the healing process. And my identity has always been tied to productivity and independence. I've said this in the past that I'm a Martha. I'm a busy, busy, busy person. Busy this, doing that. About to sit up, sit down, go do. My mind is always going a mile a minute. I have such a hard time being in stillness and quiet. And maybe you've been forced to sit down when you'd rather run, like me. Maybe there's something in your life that happened that forced you to just chill the heck out. And there's nothing more than a person that likes to be up and about and doing things. And, we've talked about this in my last podcast episodes. If you go back and listen to them, a lot of it has been tied to identities other people have put on myself. So then I took on that identity of always having to be busy, always doing for others and never doing for myself. And I could just imagine, it's like you're on a sports team. Like, I don't play sports. I never have. My husband watches sport. He has played basketball. I can imagine that you're on a team. You're sitting down on the bench and you know that you're itching to get on the field or on the court. It's the only thing that I could probably compare it to. And that's how I felt. But I had to surrender. And I had to realize that surrendering wasn't failure. It was wisdom. I had to use wisdom to take a chill pill, take and sit down, chill out, take some medication, and rest. And although it's hard for me to rest because the pain was so much after that nerve blocker wore out, that I couldn't do that. I couldn't not succumb to the pain and still be very active and try and do things with one right arm. I will tell you, after a week or so, I was trying to vacuum, yes, because that's just me. But I had to begin to reframe my surrender. And oftentimes, control is an illusion, right? Like, we think we have control something when we really don't. And our minds, we try to convince ourselves that we are under control. We are controlling this situation. We are controlling this conversation. We are controlling our lives, our attitudes, our emotions. But deep down inside, we're screaming. We're not. We're really not controlling it. And a lot of times that does become an illusion. And healing really began when I accepted what I couldn't do, what I had to let my husband do for me. And not when I tried to rush my way back. Like, he would tell me, sit down. Do you need help? Like, needed help. I needed help, my friends, with almost everything. Almost everything. And that wasn't fun. And it was a very humbling experience. I will tell you that clarity began to sink in when I became still and allowed my body and my mind to heal. And my husband was with me during my healing process for the first week. He was there to help me get dressed, to help me shower, to get my coffee, get my breakfast ready, to, help me put my clothes on, take my clothes off. He tried his best to brush my hair, whatever I needed. My husband was there. He was there for a week, 24/7, helping me out, getting me out of bed in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, get back in bed. It was not fun for him either. But after he left and he helped me take care of myself, and I decided I really need to heal, it began to reshape my day-to-day perspective, being still. I started, after he went back to work, I set myself up so I was able to make my own coffee and things like that. Simple things. He would leave me things already done so that I didn't have difficulty during the day doing them. But, coffee, I started to make myself. But I started to begin each day with coffee in one hand. I started to do physical therapy at home because I knew that I had to start moving. When I went to the doctor a week and a half after my surgery, she told me that I needed to start having some range of motion. She knew that if I didn't start moving my arm, that I would develop scar tissue and it could be a bigger problem for my healing process. So, like I said, I started to do physical therapy at home. But something else that I started doing was I started meditating and praying every single morning. I started praying through that. in the stillness of my home where it was just me. And I'm used to working all day, and there I was, surrendered in the stillness to the healing process. And it started to reshape me because I realized that I needed to get my mental and physical and spiritual strength back if I was going to be able to heal properly. It is all connected, my friends. And it's so important that those three things are intertwined when you're going through your journey. When something seems like you have to pause, something comes into your life where you have to pause, you're really going to need to be mentally, physically, and spiritually strong. And I started to have a deeper appreciation for my body and my time and my limits, what I was limited in doing. I started having appreciation because I knew that that was part of the process. And slowly, I started to get better. I did go back to work after 6 weeks, and people were amazed, but I was very lucky. I did not have a torn rotator cuff, so my healing process was a little bit quicker than most people who have rotator cuff surgery. And you're probably saying, well, Cynthia, how does this connect to the bigger message of living unscripted? Well, it's about living present and letting go of the plan when life says pause. You're living in the moment. In the situation that you're in, when life has just thrown you a curveball, you're in that moment. You're present and you're letting go of the plan. It's like women who have had this birth plan all their lives and they're like, I'm going to go natural. I don't want a C-section, or I don't want, when I was pregnant with my daughter and I was in labor, I did not want a C-section because I really heard how horrible the recuperation process was. And I was like, I'm not going to have a C-section. I'm going to do this. And I will tell you, guess what? I had a C-section. It's just the way things are. Sometimes our plans, they're just that. They're just that. It's a plan. It doesn't mean that that's exactly the way your life is going to go. And part of this is acknowledging how hard that can be. But it's also very powerful because it gives you the opportunity to sit back, reflect, and say, okay, I no longer have control, or the control that I have or thought I had is an illusion. What do I do now? Let me be still. Let me focus. Let me take a deep breath and see what's next. I let myself feel the frustration. I allowed myself to say and feel, I'm frustrated. I can't comb my hair. I can't, wash my face. I can't take a shower by myself. I can't put on my makeup. I couldn't do anything. And I felt frustrated, and it's okay to feel frustrated. If you're feeling frustrated, just feel that. Feel your emotions. Don't rush to healing, physically or emotionally. Don't rush it. Take your time. Everybody's healing time is different, whether it's physically or emotionally. I say this about people who are going through a loss in their lives, a loved one who's passed away. People can't tell you how long it should take you to mourn or grieve the loss of someone or something. Don't rush it, my friend. And use the stillness, that time that you're alone, to listen. What is life trying to say to you? What is the message that you should be receiving during this time? Post-surgery, 6 months later, I still have days with my shoulder, I'm not going to lie, that are not that great. I still can't lay on my left side. I used to be a good left side sleeper. I can't do that. I can do it only in little small increments. My right shoulder has tendonitis in it. And it wasn't just tendonitis, by the way. It was a big fat calcification that was causing so much pain and inflammation. And that's what had to be removed. And I still have those days. And you know what the kicker is? That my doctor said that this could always come back. But I need to continue to do my physical therapy exercises, which I do here and there, and not think of the pain or discomfort as a setback. Say, okay, Cynthia, my physical therapist used to always say, okay, if you're feeling this way or that way in your shoulder, what's your body trying to tell you? Is it your posture? Are you hovered over? Are you putting pressure on it? It's a time to pause and reflect and say, what is going on with me? All right, my friends, if this spoke to you, share with a friend who's in a tough season right now of their lives. And head to the blog if you want to read the full post. Like I said, I'll put it in the show notes. And I want to invite you to subscribe or leave a review if any of my podcasts episodes have impacted you or have spoken to you in one way or another, big or small. I would love to hear from you. Okay, until next time. Thanks so much for listening to the Unscripted Journey podcast. If today's episode lit a spark in you, keep that momentum going with the Unscripted Journey Reflection Journal. It's a guided space to help you tune in, take action, and start living life on your terms. It's available now on Amazon. Just click the link in the episode notes. And don't forget, I've got free resources waiting for you over at CynthiaShone.com to support your growth between episodes. Until next time, live free, stay unscripted.